Easy guys, welcome back to another episode of Chaz's No Bullshit Reptile Advice. I'm sorry stuff's been a bit hectic. We've not produced as many episodes as we normally do. The top 5, everything's kind of been put on the back burner. The last video I reduced was basically an apology explaining what's been happening and what's been going on. And a big thanks to the support that you all have given me. The guy who I'm going to attempt to help today is called Mikey J. He's been incredibly patient, waiting for me to get my shit together. I'm supposed to have helped this guy out at least 2.5, 3 weeks ago, and I just had to keep putting it back because stuff kept coming up. So Mikey, I'm sorry, I'm not usually a dick, but also on a side note, I work a lot and it's hard for, if we're on a time scale, I might not be the best person to ask because I can't guarantee when I'll have the free time to answer shit. It's just the way it is. So to run through Mikey's problem, he's got the same problem with 3 snakes, but not the others in the collection, just these 3. Jungle carpet python, boa constrictor, which is a common, and Amazon tree boa. He lives in Niagara Falls, New York, has begun getting colder outside. The house heat is now running at a background of 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Temperatures and humidity seem normal, but they are consistently in the water bowl. He has asked elsewhere online. He has been dismissed as inexperienced. Yeah, that's the internet for you. Still eating every 14 to 16 days. Boa is 4 years old, 5 foot long, stocky, large rats. Jungle 2 years, 2.5 foot long, 14-day intervals on fuzzies. I'll come back to that. Amazon, age and size not discussed. Mikey's 31 years old. He started keeping at 13, so inexperienced you ain't, mate. So don't worry, I'm not going to talk down to you. This is peer to peer. I also lowered the temp 1st of October and keep it down during the winter till February, so not overheating, still shedding, eating normal. Tried smaller bowls. He's oiled them for mites, cleaned and disinfected the tank. Help, 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 question mark, question mark, question mark. So your first instinct is the same as my instinct, which is mites, which are an external parasite for everybody who's not experienced watching the channel. They're a pain in the ass. They're like fleas on dogs and cats, just a nightmare. They can be a pain in the arse to get shut of, and therein lies the rub. You think you've tracked them and then you'll get another outbreak. It happens. Any keeper of any longevity will experience mites, and you always get that one arsehole that will come on, and I'm waiting for you to do it on there, who's like, oh, well, I've been keeping since 1827 and I've never had snake mites. Fuck off. Just shut up, dickhead. You'll get them at some point because it's going to happen. Everybody gets them, and you're not a bad keeper. It is what it is. You're saying that you've gone through the treatment for mites. The oil, for anybody who doesn't know, that is an old school treatment where we basically sheet dip the snake in vegetable oil. It is a heavy viscous material that the mites cannot breathe through. They essentially asphyxiate and die and drop off. It is a messy, horrible, crappy procedure. You have to clean out your whole tank, you disinfect that, you have to put this slimy, slippery, oily snake back in the viv on newspaper where it grinds up your tank, and then you've got to clean that out, and oh. So yeah, it's not a pleasant job. So if Mikey's been through that, what that will do is that will help to try and kill the mites that are present on the snake. And then when we disinfect it, we're hoping that we've got all the stuff out. We've done our soaked our logs, our branches, our plants, all the rest of it. But there are nooks and crannies, sealant, light fittings, vents, where eggs and shit will get deposited. Also, mites have a nasty habit of migrating. So a hypothesis for me would be that these 3 snakes are within reasonably close vicinity of one another. That would be my first port of call. If I find that there is some theory behind that, or if we haven't tracked them all at the same time and then it's been one after the other, all we're doing is chasing the mites around the 3 vivariums and running them out of town in each viv. And sometimes it can be good to do, as we call it in the shop, Operation Clean Sweep. Some snakes hide the presence of mites better than others. You don't see them as well. Obviously you're picking them up on the albino stuff and they stand out like a sore thumb. Something dark, say like a jungle, where they can have quite recessed eyes and quite decent thickness sockets you can be forgiven for thinking there's nothing there when there is. And I'm not calling bullshit on what you're saying, Mike. You just genuinely might not have seen them. But they hide it better than other stuff. You got the light gear or the albino gear, you're going to spot it straight away. They stand out like a sore thumb. We've got 3 dark or darkish animals, or animals such as the Amazon, which will have speckles. Your common's got speckles. You sent me a photo of that, where it's going to not be quite as easy to sort of pick out. They're on cypress mulch or orchid bark, as we call it, or cocoa fibre, whatever. And that's a dark substrate. It's a breeding haven for that sort of gear. Depending on where you've got it from, you could be bringing it in on your substrate. So for me, it would be, are the 3 tanks in the same locality? Are there other tanks within that area that you have not seen the problem in and therefore not treated? Because there could be mites harboured in there, and this is only particularly irritating these 3 snakes, but it's the ones that have not been treated that potentially need doing. I would steer clear of oil. It's fucking horrible. I would use Frontline if you can get it. There is a aerosol product called Ardat, which is for environmental cleaning, but it must be nowhere near your snake. There is another one called Callington Edge of Descent, which is what we use over here. It is owned by a company called Rep. Whether you can get it in America, I don't know, but there must be some sort of product for treatment. This is safe to use with your snakes still in the viv, and you use the treatment and it kills the mites. You just remove the water bowl for 24 hours. There's Frontline, which is fipronil, which is the active ingredient, but not the spot on treatment. It has to be the spray, the pump action spray. And there are other products on the market, one called Effipro, which uses fipronil the same way that Frontline does. So these are different market names for the same thing. So that's definitely worth looking at. Frontline I found to be particularly effective. There are Hydroaspis mites which feed on snake mites. There are Taurus mites which feed on snake mites. So these are all ways of doing it. I would, as a matter of course, to totally eliminate the idea that we could have mites, we would do everything that works. And for the next month, I'd keep everything on newspaper. And then every week or so you can clean that out, put fresh newspaper in. And what we're trying to do is make sure that we've got a regularly changed substrate where any detritus, dead mites, eggs that could have been dislodged, anything is coming out of the viv and going. And I would keep them on that. So we're going to keep them clinical. This is where your bioactive guys fall down. You get mites, you're fucked. You've got to completely start again. So we're not going to do that. We're going to take it back to being clinical, clean, where you can spray out and you can really wipe around every time you have the newspaper out. So we're going to do that in an effort to try and get on top of that situation. Other things would be environmental positioning. So are they near the boiler? Are they getting any direct light? Don't be fooled that a cooler day outside, if the sun is clear and it's out and it's a blue sky, we can still get the greenhouse effect inside a room. So is there natural light getting into the room? Are they in a room where the boiler is? You know, there's a multitude of other questions. Are there I mean, in England we have radiators. I don't know, do you have radiators? Do you have underfloor heating? Is it below air heating in America? I know that there's different styles of stuff, but that could potentially affect temperatures. You've mentioned that you've lowered your temperatures. The only thing that I would sort of pull you up about on that is that at least 2 of these animals are pretty much equatorial or thereabouts. And when you come to universally lowering temperatures, that's not necessarily what we would do with animals from those regions. What I'd be more inclined to do would be maybe to shorten the day length and maybe just give them a slightly cooler night, but they still need to have a day. Sort of, for the South American guys, 31, maybe 32 for the boa, not for the Amazon, and certainly 32, 33 even for the jungle. So I'd be more inclined to do that. Plus, if you're not cycling them for breeding, I don't know what the purpose of lowering the temperatures is, because it's the cycle creates the sperm and the eggs. Down to feeding regularity, bang on with the boa, no issue there at all, but the metabolism on your jungle is quicker. At 2 years old and only 2.5 feet in length, which is 30 inches, it's small. I would be upping that food. At 2 years old, I would expect a jungle carpet python to be approaching probably 4 feet long, maybe the size of an adult corn snake, and easily taking large hyena rats at this point. Bearing in mind your snake will end up at a relatively heavy set, 4.5 to 5 feet for a boy, and maybe 6-7 feet for a girl. So yeah, maybe just you being slightly lean with the jungle. I mean, if it's tame, I think it's a minor miracle. If it's aggressive, this may well explain it. It's hungry. The Amazon's not discussed, so I can't go into that. Temps and humidity normal. You say that they are. I don't know what they are, so I need to know what they are specifically for the animal to be able to help in that regard. So, are they near a blown heater? Is there definitely a gradient from hot to cold? Are the temperatures within the parameters for the species as we would expect? I've mentioned it in every video that I've covered on the ones that you've mentioned. Are we definitive that there's not mites? Because an animal that's perpetually laid in its water is either going to shed its skin, or it's too hot, or it's got mites. Pick one. Any other reason for an animal to perpetually be laid, particularly a specialist arboreal species like an Amazon tree boa, in its water bowl, you've identified it quite rightly as an aberrant behaviour, but we then need to be able to narrow down what are the reasons for its aberrant behaviour. We've got external parasites that are irritating the skin. My skin is old and tight and I want to shed it, and I'm struggling with humidity, so I want to lay in my water bowl. I'm too hot and I'm using the water in an effort to cool down at my cool end. So have we definitely got gradients? Is there direct light that could be affecting the room? Is there a boiler in the room or something that is warming up the air? What are the temperature parameters you're working to? What are the humidity parameters you're working to for each species? Bearing in mind that there will be differences. Your common boa is almost certainly Colombian in origin, which is further north than such as your Amazon tree boa, which will be Guyana and Suriname, maybe even northern Brazil, where the humidity is far higher. The common doesn't quite need it as high. And you've said that the common boa, if it's maintained in an isolation viv at 90% humidity, comes out of its bowl. The minute that the humidity drops, it goes back into its bowl. That's weird. It's weird. There's no other word for it in that, really. So I can't really give you any sort of direct answers. The thing is, I'm not. I don't want to give the impression on this channel that it's the gospel according to Chaz and I've got an answer for everything. All I'm going to do is work through the same shit you are. We're all mates. We're all going to try and work together. If any of you watching the channel have got advice for Mikey J, want to ask questions, I'm sure that he will come on. He will answer your questions. Be respectful. Do not be a dick. Do not talk down to him. That's not what this channel's about. We're here to help him. He's got a problem he can't understand. Maybe he's just not thought of something, and we need to put something in place for him, so that fucking light bulb, right? Shit, why didn't I think of that? Because it happened to me, it'll happen to you, it happens to everybody. So let's see if we can help him. I'm sorry I can't give you a more definitive answer. We'll keep the videos coming. We'll see you again soon. Cheers, guys.